you to this course on Django. First of all, thank you so much for selecting this course. In this course, I'm going to take you from the very start of website development in Django to a pro level where you will be able to create YouTube and Instagram type of websites. Now we will start from the very basic introduction to Django and we'll move step by step from basic to intermediate and then from intermediate to the advanced tutorials. So I will make sure that you guys stick along as I will make this interesting for you to learn. Now there are exercises for you at the end of sections and at the end of some tutorials as well, in which you will practice on how to implement the skill you learn from a particular set of videos. So this is going to be a very interesting course for you, and at the end of this course, you will surely be a pro in website development, and I assure you that after watching this course and practicing every exercise uploaded, you don't need to take any more courses for Django website development. So I hope you will enjoy this course. I've tried to cover each and every aspect, may it be for a student who is starting from the very beginning and has no knowledge even about the definition of Django, or it may be a student who is at some intermediate level. Now for someone who has studied Django some time ago, this course is also going to help them, as this course is on the latest version of Django, that is Django 3.0, and hence it covers the new innovations and additions in the language. So start on with the course, and if you feel any kind of problem, do let me know and I will be more than happy to help you guys out. So that's it with this tutorial. Thank you so much again and I welcome you to the second section here on this course on Django. Now basically this is the section from where we are going to officially start our course. So in this tutorial we are going to be covering the section overview, and section overview basically enlists the topics that are going to be covered in this section. So basically the three main topics are going to be covered in this section. The first topic which we are going to be covering is the introduction to Django. The second topic which we are going to be covering is about the controller settings, that what are the controller settings that are going to be used for Django. And finally, the third topic which we are going to be covering is the compiler installation. And in the compiler installation, we are going to see what type of compilers and which compilers can be used for Django coding and which one of those I'm going to use and how to install that compiler. So this section is basically very important if you are a beginner, because this section is going to tell you about the basic introduction to Django. So I hope you stick on to this section and learn each and everything. So I guess that's it with this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we are going to start on with the introduction to Django. So thank you so much guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. This tutorial in which we are going to be covering the introduction to Django. Django is a web application framework that is written in Python programming language. It is based on the MVT design pattern, where MVT stands for Model, View, Template. Now, the Django is very demanding due to its rapid development features. It takes less time to build application after collecting the client requirements. Now, this framework uses a famous tagline, that is the web framework for perfectionists with deadlines. Now, by using Django, we can build web application in very less time. Django is designed in such a manner that it handles much of the configure things automatically. So we can focus on application development only without giving much more attention to the configuration things. Django takes care of much of the hassle of web development, so you can focus on writing your application without needing to reinvent the wheel. It is free and open source and has a thriving and active community that provides great documentation and many other options for free and paid for support. Now, if you talk about the history of Django, Django was basically initially developed between 2003 to 2005 by a web team who were responsible for creating and maintaining newspaper websites. After creating a number of sites, the team began to factor out and reuse lots of common code and design patterns. Now this common code evolved into a generic web development framework which was open sourced as Django project in July 2005. Django has combined to grow and improve from its first milestone release, that was Django 1.0 in September 2008, through to the recently released version 2.0, and nowadays we are having 2.2 as well. Now each release has added new functionality and bug fixes ranging from support for new types of databases, template engines, caching, through to the addition of generic view functions and classes, which reduce the amount of code that developers have to write for a number of programming tasks. So basically Django is now a thriving, collaborative open source project with many thousands of users and contributors. While it does still have some features that reflects its origin, Django has evolved into a versatile framework that is capable of developing any type of website you want to create. Now the big concept here is the question, why Django? Now why Django has a number of answers. The first one is that it's very easy to switch databases in Django framework, and how this is done, that is going to be a part of the future tutorials. The second answer to this can be that it has built-in admin interface which makes easy to work with it. The third answer can be that Django is fully functional framework that requires nothing else. Another answer to why Django can be that it has thousands of additional packages available. And one more answer can also be that Django is very scalable. Now if you talk about the popularity of Django, then Django is widely accepted and used by various well-known sites such as Instagram, then we have Pinterest, then we have the Mozilla Firefox browser. In some of the other sites, the Washington Times, Disqus, and Bitbucket are also written in Django. There are thousands of other applications that are made in Django, but the most common and the most popular ones are the ones which I have mentioned right here on the slides. So Django basically is simply wow. So that's it, I guess, with this tutorial. In the next tutorial we are going to be starting on with some more interesting stuff, so I guess you stick on to this section. Thank you so much guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. You to another tutorial on this course on Django. So in this tutorial basically we are going to be covering the features of Django. Now Django has a variety of features. Some of those can be that Django is complete, the rapid development of Django, Django is secure, Django is scalable, it is fully loaded, it is maintainable, it is portable, it is versatile, it is open source, and it has a vast and supported community. So let's just discuss all of these features one by one. So the first feature is that Django is complete. Now Django follows the batteries included philosophies, and it provides almost everything the developers might want to do out of the box, because everything you need is a part of the one product. So it all works seamlessly together. It follows consistent design principle and has the extensive and the up-to-date documentation which you can find on Google. Then the second one is that it has rapid development. Now Django, as I told you earlier, that was designed with the intention to make a framework which takes less time to build web application. The project implementation phase is very time taken, but Django creates rapidly. Now Django is also secure. Now Django helps the developers to avoid many common security mistakes by providing a framework that has been engineered to do the right things to protect the websites automatically. For example, Django provides a secure way to manage user accounts and passwords, avoiding common mistakes like putting sessions information in cookies where it is vulnerable. Now instead, cookies just contain a key and the actual data is stored in the database, or directly storing passwords rather than a password hash. So Django is also secure. Now, Django is also scalable. By scalability, we mean that Django uses a component-based sharing nothing architecture. Having a clear separation between the different parts means that it can scale for increased traffic by adding hardware at any level, caching servers, database servers, or application servers. Some of the busiest sites have successfully scaled Django to meet their demands. For example, Instagram and Disqus, to name just two. I've already showed these two websites to you. So the next feature of Django is that Django is fully loaded. Now, Django includes various helping tasks modules and libraries which can be used to handle common web development tasks. Django takes care of user authentication, content administration, sitemaps, and RSS feeds, and many other things. The next feature of Django is that Django is maintainable. Now, Django code is written using design principles and patterns that encourage the creation of maintainable and reusable code. In particular, it takes use of the don't repeat yourself, or you can call it the drive principle. So there is no unnecessary duplication, reducing the amount of code. Django also promotes the grouping of related functionality into reusable applications, and at a lower level, groups related code into modules along the lines of the MVC, that is the model view controller pattern. The next feature of Django is that Django is portable. Now, Django is written in Python, as I told you earlier, which runs on many platforms. That means that you are not tied to any particular server platform, and you can run your applications on many flavors of Linux, Windows, Mac operating system, and many others. Furthermore, Django is well supported by many web hosting providers who often provide specific infrastructure and documentation for hosting Django sites. Now, Django, as I told you, is also versatile. Django can be used to build almost any type of website, from content management websites and wikis through to social networks and news sites. It can work with any client-side framework and can deliver content in almost any format. Now, like internally, while it provides choices from almost any kind of functionality you might want, several popular databases, template engines, it can also be extended to use other components if needed. Now, the next use, or you may say the application of Django, is that it is open source. Django is an open source web application framework. As I told you earlier, it is publicly available without cost. It can be downloaded with source code from the public repository. Open source basically reduces the total cost of the application development. And last but not the least, it has a vast and supported community. Django is one of the most popular web framework. It has wider supportive community and channels to share and connect. So these were basically some of the features of Django. I hope you have understood the importance of Django by learning these features. So I guess that's it with this tutorial. Thank you so much guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial. Welcome you to a very important tutorial that is about the model view controller. Now, as you already know that Django is a Python web framework, and like most modern framework, Django supports the MVC pattern, that is basically the model view controller pattern. So first let's look into what is model view controller, and then we will look at the Django specificity for the model view template pattern, because Django actually supports the model view template pattern. So for understanding MVT pattern, you need to know about the MVC pattern. So the model view controller, or the MVC as it is popularly called, is a software design pattern for developing web applications. Now, a model view controller pattern is basically composed of three parts. The first one is the model. That is basically the lowest level of the pattern, which is responsible for maintaining of the data. Then we have the second one, that is the view, that is responsible for displaying all or a portion of the data to the user. And then finally we have the controller. That is the software code that controls the interaction between the model and the view. Now MVC is basically popular as it isolates the application logic from the user interface layer, and it supports the separation of concerns. Now the controller here basically receives all kind of requests for the application, and then it works with the model to prepare any data needed by the view. The view then uses the data prepared by the controller to generate a final presentable response. Now, all of this MVC abstraction can be graphically represented by using this diagram that is visible right here. First of all, the event arises, the model and the controller interact with each other, and then the model and the controller basically decide what is going to be viewed, and that data is basically sent to the view. So basically here, if you talk about the model is here responsible for managing the data for the application. It responds to the request from the view, and it also responds to instructions from the controller to update itself. Then if you talk about the view in this diagram, it means presentation of the data in a particular format triggered by a controller's decision to present the data. Now there are script-based templating systems like JSP, ASP, PHP, and very easy to integrate with Ajax technology. Then if you talk about the controller here is responsible for responding to the user input and performing interactions on the data model objects. Now the controller basically receives the input, it validates the input, and then it performs the business operation that modifies the state of the data model. So this is how basically the MVT works. You need to understand about this MVC model to understand the MVT model that will be covered in the very next tutorial. So I guess that's it with this tutorial, and as I told you that in the next tutorial we are going to be covering the model view template, that is the MVT. So thank you so much guys up till now, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. And I welcome you to another tutorial here on this course on Django, and in this tutorial we are going to be covering the model view template. The model view template, often known as MVT, is a software design pattern. It is a collection of three important component models that are the model, the view, and the template. The model helps to handle databases. It is a data access layer which handles the data. The template is basically a representation layer which handles the user interface part completely. The view is used to execute the business logic and interact with the model to carry out data and renders a template. Although Django follows the MVC pattern for maintaining its own conventions, so basically control is handled by the framework itself. Now there is no separate controller, and a complete application is basically based on the model, view, and templates. That's why it's called the MVT application. So the model view template is slightly different from the MVC. In fact, the main difference between the two patterns is that Django itself takes care of the controller part, that is the software code that controls the interaction between the model and the view, leaving us with the template. The template is a HTML file mixed with Django template language, also known as DTL, that will be covered in the future tutorials. So to give you a graphical representation of what MVT is, you can look at this diagram. Now what is going on in this diagram is that a user basically requests for a resource to Django. Now what is a resource over here? This basically over here is the resource. So the user requests for a source to the Django. Django works as a controller and check for the available resources in a URL. Now if the URL maps, a view is called that interacts with the model and template, and it renders a template. Now Django responds back to the user and send a template as a response. To conclude the argument, the developer provides the model, the view, and the template. Then it just maps it to a URL, and Django does the magic to serve it to the user. So this was a brief introduction to MVC and MVT. and the patterns you need to understand to get going with Django. So I guess that's it with this tutorial as well. Thank you so much guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial.